Okay, we're gonna start with roll call for the Land Use Committee meeting on November 4th. Charles Mordler,
Yes.
Marty Wolpove,
Present.
Bender,
Here.
Lee Chung. There she is, I see you. Let me just let everyone in. Okay, Lee Chung is here. Omar Murray. Adriana Rivera.
Present.
Daniel Rowan. Jessica Sosa. Laura Spalter. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have quorum.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a relatively short calendar tonight, and we're going to try and move it along as best we possibly can. I notice one person here who may be here by accident, so as to spare Mr. LaFreda some time.
Hi.
The matter has been put over. Have you received a copy?
Wait, I'm sorry, give me 1 second.
Oh, it's,
I'm sorry, what did you say? Hello?
can you hear us?
I can hear you now, yes.
Have you received a copy of their letter?
No, I have not.
We'll get it to you. We have a written statement from them that they are not going to build anything in the backyard other than materials for, like a pump and the rest, for the swimming pool and the rest. So
Right,
that there will
but-
be no residential structure in the back. I would
But-
like you to look at that letter, tell us if that is satisfactory. If not, we're gonna get to knock heads and get this straightened out.
Okay.
Okay?
My only concern is that, you know, we all agree we're in a SNAD area and it's a protected area. So when he had a conversation with my husband, he's like, well, I'm gonna put it up against your retaining wall, a structure for my pool equipment. And Pat was like, well, you're not allowed to build anything back there. Like, where's your, like, who gave a permit to build anything in this SNAD area? I don't care about his house.
I got you, hold on. You have the beginning of a concept. I'd like you to do the following. Get to us within the next week or 10 days, a written commentary which makes that point, and I'm gonna settle this once and for all.
Okay, and I
All
just
right.
had, I had one more thing that I wanted to get off my chest, is that I know in the last minutes of the meeting, he talked about this invasive Japanese boxweed that grows back there, and he's replacing it with fescue grass. The root system is totally different, and I know from the side of our retaining wall that the erosion back there is very bad. The water pours from Palisade down, and even on that steep slope, it's bad. Like, the erosion is already starting. I've noticed that they planted maybe like 1 grass seed per every 50 feet. And they have sprinklers there for show. They're never working because I check my house every day. And I'm just like, you know, and he didn't mention to Pat, as soon as this is over, I'm going to flatten it out and, you know, so my kids can play back there. Okay, that's changing the
Look,
topography.
If you can send us pictures of it, I will arrange for somewhere in the next 10 days or so, as soon as we get your letter, for the district manager and I to come over and take a look at it. We'll take a look at it and see what we can do. All right?
I appreciate it, Charles. I do.
All right.
You all have a
Thank
great
you,
night.
but do tell us everything. Whatever you say, that's it. All right?
Okay. No, I'm just
And
trying
I'm
to do the
gonna
right,
say
I'm
the
just trying
same
to do the
thing
right
to
thing.
them.
But
All right, you're right. Thank you so much. I didn't want
Thank
you
you.
to hang around
That's okay.
needlessly, we having postponed this matter.
Have a wonderful
First
evening,
item on the
everyone.
agenda,
Okay, thank-
3111 Henry Hudson Parkway, a SNAD application. Is the applicant here?
Yes,
Is there any representative of the applicant present?
yes. Yeah,
I'm the architect, also the representative of the owner is here as well.
Is there anybody there representing the applicant?
Yes, can you hear me?
Are you authorized to represent the applicant?
Yes. Also, we have also with us Robert Garcia from AKRF. He is our civil engineer. Also, their firm employs the arborist who has worked on this project.
All right. Now, let me just repeat the question I put to you before, because I want a direct answer so you have no question. Are you authorized to act for and represent the applicant?
Yes.
All right. That said, let me ask you a question to start this off. What do you have in mind for the trees in the front?
Can you tell me which trees, are you talking about the street trees or the?
There are 3 trees showing on your own plan that are in front of the building, or what will be the front of the building. Are you proposing to in any way remove or change them?
I believe we are. Yeah.
And is that part of your application?
That is not part of this application because those trees are not under the purview of city planning. I understand.
Are under the purview of this board.
I understand.
So let me be very clear about it in terms of speaking only for Charles Murdoch. My colleagues may or may not agree with me. What do you plan to do? I, for one, believe we don't have enough vegetation in the city, other than at City Hall. But putting that aside,
Yes.
I'd like to know what you're going to do when you remove the vegetation in the front. I don't want it hiding in the back. The people of the city of New York are entitled to have it in front of the building.
We are proposing to plant new trees in the front of the property.
What caliber?
That would be, let me see, 15, 16, 17. What we are showing on our drawings as of this time is 3-inch caliber.
That's not going to fly.
there's a second page. I showed you the second page.
Third page.
Let me just make my point, then I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues to make their own points, if they have any with respect to this matter. This board believes that Riverdale is intended to be, was intended to be, and damn sure going to stay if we can, an area that is green, that is a community fit for people and fit for living. I have no problem with developers. I represent developers. Okay? My issue is very simple. You're going to have to use your imagination out of the box and provide green in its place before I, for one, will vote to approve this or to advance it 1 iota.
Okay.
Is there any member of the board, of the committee, who wishes to be heard? Bob?
Yeah, Chuck, I'm not clear. Are these 3 trees the street trees?
Yes.
They are, okay. And as far as I know, if I read the information that we got earlier, if I read it correctly, they have to go through the city, through the Parks Department and the Bronx Forestry, and so far that has not happened.
That's correct. And depending on what position you take and what position they take, we could wind up going to the agencies of the city and opposing their application.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me interject here if I may. So the 3 trees that I mentioned, so we are removing street trees. This application, and I understand you are a different organization and not city planning, and I'm not trying to.
Thank God for that.
So the 3 trees that I'm referring to, which are numbered 15, 16, and 17 on our drawing, are within the property line of this property. Those are not the ones that are in the area between the sidewalk and the curb. Those trees we are not showing new trees on this drawing because, and all I can tell you is the reason why this drawing looks this way. The reason why we did not show additional trees in that area between the sidewalk and the street is because city planning told us not to include those, and these drawings had to comply with their requirements. I understand it's not your requirements.
I understand your point. And so what I would say to you, sir, is the following. Assuming, for the sake of argument, that my colleagues agree with me, I do know that they do. And I'm being very dogmatic, and I apologize for that. But it is an issue that has been a steadfast issue in this board for all of the 30 years that I've been chairman of this committee. And that is that we want to preserve green in this community. And we want to preserve the appearance of green. I would ask you to consider the following. Let the filing that you make comply with city planning's request. I have no problem with that. I'd like to know from you what you and or your arborist believe you can do to continue the appearance, if nothing else, of solid green in this area.
Well,
I assure you,
yeah.
You're going to sell these places a damn sight faster in that fashion than making them sparse.
Of course. I agree with you, and I believe that we could also add street trees to this. There's at least one location we could do that. If not more. We are limited. I mean, you know how this works. We have a hydrant in one location. I can't put a tree there. We will. Look, I agree with you. I agree. We should absolutely add street trees and as much as we can.
Would you do this for us, please? I'm going to, I don't want to be speaking for the committee until the committee makes it clear that that's a consensus. But it seems to me that you have the kind of reputation for excellence that you can innovatively come up with an idea and a concept that provides for trees there. If you will look at the left of the picture,
Yeah.
that's on the front, you have a vacant area in the front there on the far left. Why not there?
So,
These are blocking the garage anyway.
so the area on the left, you're talking about, so I'm on drawing, may I ask which drawing are you looking at?
I'm looking at the front cover of your plan. If that is not effective,
That's beyond the property line. That's property. That's why those trees are staying there. The only trees remaining
No,
are
no,
off
I
their
understand
property.
what
They're
he's
cutting down
saying.
100% of the trees on their property.
oh, all right.
No, that's okay. I understand what you're saying on the left-hand side. You see the steps on the very left-hand side there?
Yeah.
Right, in front of those steps, we possibly could also add a tree over there. We could look into that. We do have that green area, but and again, that's on the property, not the street. That's not the street tree area.
What I would ask you to do is to think about it. Let me throw something else at you, something that can help your client. Do you have any particular plans for the roof?
Yes, we have a green roof plan, and I apologize for not bringing it up last time, but there is a green roof plan for this.
So you can do more with that. Go take a look at the Whitehall. You've got an entire jungle up there. It's wonderful. I'm serious.
Take a look at, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Take a look at what?
Your Whitehall, 3333 Henry Hudson Parkway. It's an apartment house,
Oh, okay,
a
gotcha.
square block. And on that roof, you have more trees than you have in that block.
Okay. Okay,
Please,
we'll take a look at it.
speaking for myself, I would ask you, please, sit down and take a look at what you can do to help keep New York City green in our backyard,
Okay, very well.
all right?
Yep.
Is there any member of the committee that takes umbrage at what I have just said? Or disagrees with it, except as to the shading?
Chuck, I
Robert.
want to be sure, the three street trees, those are the trees that you said city planning did not require you to put on the plan? Is that correct?
Yeah, so just, I'd like to take a step back. Can you, if you have our drawings, can you go to the second page, please? CPC 002?
Yep, that's CPC 002.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you look in the upper right hand, you'll see the proposed site plan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we have, you see the words Henry Hudson Parkway West, and just above that, you'll see the sidewalk area, and then you'll see the three trees we've been talking about, 15, 16, and 17.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the trees that are on the property. The area to the very left of that is the open area that you had just said is an area where we could probably add another tree. And I'm saying we probably could. And then, but it's the area below that where the street trees would go. So I just want to say.
But you're adding cuts and removing them.
Yeah, yes. It's the area, you know, just, it would be east of the sidewalk there. Those are the ones that technically would be considered the street trees. The others are trees within the property itself.
And the three trees that are within the property itself, that are near, the highway, those trees are remaining.
Those are new,
You're planting those trees.
correct.
Okay, all right, now I'm clear, thank you.
Let me make the point to you, though, 13 inches is not gonna really be, it depends on what the width of them is. We're gonna have a tough time surviving
3 inches.
in that location.
3 inches, not 13.
3 inches is
No, they're
the
removing
minimum.
a 30-inch and putting in some 3 inches
All right.
and a 50-inch. Was any effort made to save tree E6, which is basically not being developed on? That's just where you're putting a deck. So you're cutting down a 50-inch, the largest tree on the property, for a deck.
I believe this, yeah, hold on, let me just go to that one. E6 you said? Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, give me a moment. That tree, yes, the deck is going there, but I believe the root ball is compromised. Yeah, if you look at drawing CPC 005, you can see the location of the tree, and while it is clearly within the deck area, about 40% of the root ball is, or more of it is going to be in the area where the new foundation would be.
And does your arborist maintain that there is no way in which that can be saved?
That particular question I have not asked. We can, if it's okay with you, I would like to ask, he's here, Robert Garcia from AKRF to speak to that point, if he can.
Good.
Robert, can you hear? I see that he's here.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, Robert is, I don't know why, is he muted or something? I can't tell. He doesn't appear to be muted. Maybe he stepped away from him. Sorry, Robert, can you hear? All right, Dennis, can you respond to that question?
Yes, we have had that conversation with Robert and the arborist, and the tree is within 10 feet from the building, and eventually there is no way to save it. I mean, the foundation will, will encroach with the roots, and it's not safe to keep that one there. So there is no way to save that tree.
That is your professional opinion?
Yeah, that's my professional opinion and the arborist opinion as well.
Wait a minute.
That was
You
the
are an
arborist.
arborist.
That was, no, I'm sorry,
No.
Dennis is the owner, the arborist, that was the opinion of the arborist that he's telling us.
Where is the arborist?
Robert Garcia, can you hear us?
I don't know why. I see him there, but he's not speaking. I don't know why.
Yeah, he's not muted.
No, I saw that. Is he still here?
Any other member? I have a suggestion, but let me see if anybody else wants. Marty.
Excuse me. I have one silly question. If I were buying this property, it is potentially possible that the limited area set aside for my backyard is impeded in my usage by those 2 trees in each of them. What can we request of the developer to put in writing to potential purchasers that those trees cannot be touched?
Who is this question addressed to?
Whoever has the ability to answer.
Whoever owns the property or the council.
Which, I'm sorry, can you, I didn't follow the question. I apologize. Repeat the question, please.
The diagrams as presented, each of the houses in the backyard have 2 trees, which you are adding supposedly to make up for the trees that are being withdrawn. My concern is, as someone buys the house and decides those trees impede their ability to use the backyard and want to remove a tree, what can you put into the purchase document that says those trees are required to remain?
Or a covenant.
Eventually, those trees will be planted on a natural area district. So in order to remove a tree on a natural area district, you have to go through the same application that we are going right now. So no one that will buy a property there will be able to remove a tree by his own decision or opinion.
I agree with you, except I'm not in construction, I'm not in architecture. I'm a homeowner. That tree is in my way. Now you see it, now you don't. What can be put in writing that tells them you bought this lovely house, you cannot touch those trees?
I mean, nothing that we can put in writing can stay
Of
above
course you can.
the regulation of the
You can put a
laws.
covenant in the sale document that says this is a sale subject to the following restrictions.
Well,
I think that's duplicative of the zoning code, right? So just because it's in,
It's a principle of real estate that goes back to William the Conqueror.
well,
Please,
as far
Come on, why do you think you have those small little homes that block the construction of another block of high-rise buildings? Because on your property, you can limit use. That's what restrictive covenants are all about. Please, ask your lawyer.
that I am the lawyer, and I think that what I'm saying is that restrictive covenant basically already exists by law. So rewriting it in a contract doesn't really get you any farther.
With respect to, you have an entity in the city that does not really seem to give much of a damn about the environmental consequences. It seeks to do away with SNAD. It seeks to build multiple dwellings in places reserved for one-family homes. It's called the New York City Planning Commission. It's called the City of Yesterday. Those are issues where I am recommending that people enact in all of the covenants, in all of the city, a restrictive covenant, because the zoning resolution ain't worth a damn after these fellas. And I know I was the first commissioner of buildings to enforce the zoning resolution.
We think it's a great recommendation and we'll certainly look into it.
Let me be very clear. I've sounded very aggressive toward you, and I understand that. I am more than happy to work with you as best I can with only one controlling principle. We have got to keep this community, and in my view, the entire city of New York, as green as it is, and a lot greener and less decrepit than it now is.
We agree.
So I believe
Please, I promise you, on the record, we will cooperate with you in any way we can, if you will cooperate with your community and help us keep this in shape. Is that fair enough as an offer?
Very fair. Thank you.
Is there any member of the committee who takes umbrage or has a different view than I have espoused?
Not just
All right. Hearing none. Sir, we will put this on as the first item on the agenda for the next meeting. If in between that meeting, I'm about to depart to my own inconvenience, if between now and then you want to have either a meeting or a conference call or the like with me and with any other members of the committee that are willing to join, just call the district service manager and we will set it up so you don't feel that we're stringing you out. Fair enough?
Ryan,
Yes,
Did you hear
fair
me?
enough.
so,
Okay.
so let me ask a question. Just, I assume that this means that we are,
Call Miss Rubin and she will make the arrangements whenever you want. I just have one caveat for you. My times are a little weird because my wife's in the hospital, so I'm dependent upon her being on PT at that hour. Something else.
so
All right?
just to be clear on what you're saying, I understand what you're asking for. But are you saying that this application is being held over till next month again?
Correct. But if in the interim, so we can get it done next month and not have you wait beyond that, if you would like to set up a meeting and talk to us about it first in any way, or if you have questions, we will try and find a way of opening a path of communication.
Okay, and so the reason why it's being held over until next month is so that you're requesting that the owners add a restrictive covenant to the deed?
No, it's being held over for you to figure out how to keep this in a way that has trees. I believe what we are seeking to achieve is ultimately going to wind up to your benefit when you sell these buildings. Really. By the way, I can prove it to you. If you go to, I think it's about a block north of you, there are a bunch of these townhouses facing the Henry Hudson Parkway. There were a few of them that had trees at one time and were taken down. Find out how long it took to sell those.
Well,
The others.
to further state one thing on the restrictive covenant aspect of things, we are required by DCP to record a restrictive covenant that has the site plan on it, which shows the trees. So I think that we've addressed your concern in that regard as well.
Apparently our representative from AKRF says that he's being muted. The 201 number has been muted by the host or whoever is running the meeting.
No, I'm looking at him right now. Does he want to rejoin the meeting? And I can make sure, but it's saying he's not muted. Everyone can see it from here.
Another page, is there?
Not muted.
He called in, I believe he called in separately also. There's a
Okay.
201 number. If you go to the very end.
So
of
what number? Okay, I'm gonna ask him to unmute there. Hold on.
There it is.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. This is Robert Garcia. Yes, I apologize. I should have mentioned that it was also calling in as well. But yes, I guess to answer the first question, and I believe Dennis answered it already regarding the existing tree in the back. Yes, unfortunately, due to the extent of construction, that tree will not survive.
So let me repeat, because I don't know what you heard and what you were blocked from hearing. One, first of all, my name is Charles Myrtle. I chair the committee. The issue that we have, and I think on this issue I speak for the board, we do not have any kind of assurance that these trees can in some appropriate way be replaced for the benefit both of yourself and of the community. In other words, what's coming down does not seem to have any appropriate replacement. Number two, with respect to the rear yard, the point has been made that there's nothing that would stop the ultimate purchaser from tearing down those trees.
But that's incorrect.
What is that?
There's number one, zoning, and number two, a restrictive covenant that is required to be filed as part of the DCP application to record the site plan, which includes the trees. So you have a restrictive covenant with the trees shown.
The first thing is, those covenants that are requested by city planning nowadays are not enforced by the building department either. What you need to do.
It's still a restrictive
what you-
covenant protecting the trees, which is what you.
I
asked.
heard you. That's exactly what I was just saying to you. There is no confidence in city planning here, let alone the building department, which I once led. We want to be sure that there are obligations that are called to the attention of property owners. If someone buys a piece of property from you with the building on it and the two trees, we want to be sure that they have been told by you that they are not to destroy those two trees. Now, I don't see where the burden on you is great. If there is, tell me. All right, so we are now going to put this over to the December meeting. I will repeat my point to you. If you would like to have a small group of your folk and our folk get together by Zoom, in person, howsoever works out, between now and the December meeting and iron out any other aspects of this, we will do that. Just call up Ms. Rubin, the district service manager, and she will make the arrangements. Okay?
Understood.
Thank you.
December 2nd is the next meeting, just so everyone knows.
Okay. And really, We want to get this thing finished with and done with. And we want to do it in a fashion that does not impede in any way your ability to make a sale, rather, and I believe it will enhance it. Okay? All right, Mr. Leffler. This is adjourned from the last meeting. It is your moment in the sun. Talk to us. Let me give the board, the committee, some background. About 6 months ago, maybe a little bit more, the rumblings about a sale of the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center property and building became louder and louder and ultimately became a reality. Part of that contemplated the incorporation of the Jewish Center within structures to be erected on the site. At the time that was going on, Mr. Leffler and some of his colleagues raised a number of problems in terms of how all of this was going to affect the community and how the property itself was going to affect the community. And so we are addressing that aspect this evening, as we committed at the last board meeting we would do. You're on.
Thanks for taking the time to discuss this with us. I appreciate some of the principals as well on the development side for being here. Several people from the neighborhood have made the trek over here tonight. I think it's an indication of how strongly people care about Van Cortlandt as a neighborhood, and I see there are many folks online as well. I don't know, did the committee have a chance to read a statement that we distributed? Okay. I guess I would be curious to hear what your reaction is to that, but really, I'm serving here as a spokesperson, as a conduit of information for the community. And what's been done in this document is to coalesce the main concerns that folks have in Van Cortlandt around really 5 principal concerns. And those are listed on the first page of this document. And they really go to the point that you made, Mr. Chairman, earlier, that Riverdale and Van Cortlandt should be a community that is fit for living and fit for people. And all of these 5 concerns touch on that, and they reflect the hope that the development that occurs here does not detract from what I think is a laudable goal and ideal that you summarized very effectively. So to be concrete, here are the 5 issues that come to mind. The first is that this development would be concentrated in the heart of Van Cortlandt, which is a triangle-shaped area of land bounded by Sedgwick Avenue and Stevenson Place. And there's a lot going on in that triangle of land. It really is the heart of this neighborhood. So the first issue is that there is an urban forest at 3862 Sedgwick Avenue. It gives the neighborhood its tranquil, bucolic feel. It also contributes to the character of the neighborhood, and it may even help do things like mitigate socioeconomic health disparities by serving, for example, to potentially lower things like asthma rates. So that's one concern. The second concern is that the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center, as you pointed out, is not only a house of worship, it also houses essential social services in the neighborhood. One of them was the JASA Senior Center, which unfortunately has already been forced. I don't use the word lightly. It has been forced to leave the synagogue building to the detriment of the many seniors in the community for whom it was a home away from home. But beyond JASA, it still houses a Marshall Montefiore Community Center Pre-K, which is a very important center for early childhood education, and it's essential for many folks in the community. So preserving that is important to making this a livable community. The third item is that 67 Stevenson Place, which is owned by Van Cortlandt Jewish Center, is also known as Denishon House. This was a subject of a recent article in the Riverdale Press that uncovers the rich history of Denishon House. It is actually the first freestanding modern dance studio in the United States. It is very important to the cultural heritage of those in the dance community, modern dance community, including at Jacob's Pillow as well. So we believe that is something that's worth preserving. So those are the aesthetic, social, and cultural concerns, 1, 2, and 3. But 4 and 5, I would say, are more pedestrian in nature, but equally important. We are concerned that a large amount of pervious land will in effect be paved over. That could lead to significant storm runoff onto Sedgwick Avenue, which is the main thoroughfare in the neighborhood, and also has critical infrastructure beneath it, including feeder cables and important transmission lines maintained by Con Ed. And finally, this triangle of property, this is the fifth and final point, this triangle of property is adjacent to the retaining walls of the Jerome Park Reservoir. I'm sure I don't have to introduce this committee to the importance of the Jerome Park Reservoir and the many spirited debates that were held over it and about it over the years. But we are concerned that if large-scale construction starts to occur in this area of property, including the demolition, that could potentially damage the foundations of this retaining wall. That's not an idle concern. When there was blasting on the other side of the reservoir, about 10, 15 years ago, the retaining walls were actually damaged and are now having to be replaced at the cost of hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. So those are the 5 concerns that we've been able to collect that I think encapsulate many of the concerns of the community. And if you could just skip to the end of the document, really what we're asking is, given that this neighborhood may be undergoing a period of significant change, the likes of which it hasn't seen in decades, that a subcommittee be formed, a land use subcommittee be formed, to study what the impact of this development will be in its totality, and also to help facilitate communication between developers and the residents of Van Cortlandt, some who are here and many who are online. Beyond that, we've listed some additional studies that we think might be useful to perform, including Con Ed, assessing the impact of development on its infrastructure beneath Sedgwick, DOT, assessing the impact on traffic along Sedgwick Avenue, which has multiple buses, express buses. It's a route for FDNY, for emergency service vehicles. And then finally, we think it would be prudent for DEP to think about how development in this area could impact the structural integrity of one of its main assets, the Jerome Park Reservoir. And then finally, stormwater runoff, what the impact of that will be. I will note this is not that far away from Tibbetts Brook, which is being daylighted, and the Major Beacon. So those are the asks that we have. Those are the major asks that we have. We understand that we're not the SNAD. We get it. I want to say that clearly. We're not in the SNAD, and we understand we don't have R1 zoning. Understood. We understand we're not a historic district like Fieldston. Understood. But I will, again, go back to your words, Mr. Chairman, I think really ably encapsulated how we feel. Just because we don't have that zoning does not mean that we don't think that the trees and the green space in this area should be preserved, as well as the community services. And we would prefer problems for problems to be proactively addressed rather than messes to be cleaned up afterwards. And we hope that we can work in partnership with the developers who have bought this land to set those sorts of solutions basically, guided by this committee, which has incredible experience, professionalism, and sincerity. Thank you.
Mr. Leffler, let me ask you a couple of questions. How old is this Dennis Horn house?
Dennis Horn House, I believe, was built, it's in the Riverdale Press article, I believe, somewhere in the 1920s or early 1930s. I want to say either 1926 or 1934, but it's a matter of public record.
What I would like to ask you to do is think about the following.
Yes.
Probably won't apply, so don't put too much at stake in it in terms of this being declared a landmark. So go over to Landmarks Commission online and take a look what they require in order to give consideration to it as a possible landmark. All right? If it fits, take a look. The mere fact it was one of the first places that taught dance, unfortunately, isn't going to save it. Number two, I know this neighborhood pretty well. In 1961, which was more than a couple of days ago, my brother-in-law ran for the city council from that area. He later became the assemblyman, later became a Supreme Court judge, and is now in his 90s and retired. But he walked my you-know-what off during that campaign, so I got a pretty good feel for your neighborhood. Okay? It is a gem. It is a gem no different from other portions of this community board district. It is challenged by the times. That is an area that is racially and economically mixed, that meets every single criterion for what is worth preserving in this town, contrasted with the nonsense that is not, right? I think every member of this board, not just of this committee, will agree with that.
We would like to help.
You have to understand a couple of things. And I have my conscience sitting at the edge of the table, and he will bring me up short. It's you, Bob. He will bring me up short if I am excessive, and Lee Chong's on there too. This is a very different administration. Some of the people still have their telephones, not for long, but they have their cell phones. It is a very different administration, and I do not blame the mayor for it, by the way, believe it or not. Who I believe to be a decent man. I've served in government, I still serve in it. I have an interest in housing. I am a member of the New York City Housing Development Corporation, which finances the affordable housing. So I have a stake in that. I've been on it for over 20 years, appointed by Mario Cuomo. All right? This neighborhood needs help. I'm going to give you your committee. What I would ask you to do is to call my friend over here, Martin Wolpoff, who has moved from dealing with the problem on Riverdale Avenue now to working with you on that. My friend Adiana, and with the seer of all truth, Dan Rowan. Those are 3 board members and 3 committee members who will work with you. And they'll try and pull the information together. This is a hard climb. It is a community worth preserving. The question is, what can we realistically do? The last one we worked on, this is not a joke, this is not an exaggeration either. If you remember, our friend Dan had a serious concern in the area around Orloff and that area around there about 10 years ago in terms of trying to deal with it. We focused on it. We were able to hold the tide a little bit. I can't promise you anything. I will do the following. If you think your programs are going to be helped by affordable housing in portions of it that will leave portions for one-family homes, portions for apartment houses and the like. I will undertake as a member of HDC to present to them those opportunities. But what we can do is limited. We would like to. You make the case, you make it absolutely perfectly. Understand the challenges. Right? Do I have anybody else on this issue? Robert?
Remind me, what is the status of this project at the moment? You know, is it simply the development? Is it simply on paper? There have been no approvals? Where does it stand? I forget.
Here, I'm looking.
There is a building permit for the old library, the satellite library, and the adjacent house for an 8-story apartment building. That's been filed, and the demolition has been filed. This is the front of that property.
Okay.
And they own outright those 2 properties, and they own another property at 3864 or 2 Sedgwick Avenue, which is the house on the corner with the big tall trees. And that I haven't seen any of, the only thing that I've seen take place there is they had a tractor come up and chew up the lawn and all the property to do some drilling, to do some core samples for foundation work.
Okay.
So they've done soil samples there. I haven't seen a building permit, but the old library site and the Tudor house next to it are scheduled to be demolished for an 8-story apartment building. How many, 64 units? Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay.
We don't know what's happening on the corner lot.
So let me suggest the following. Suppose we see if we can have a conversation, maybe Zoom or the like, between the members of the community and the members of the committee, to see if there is some consensus of what, if anything, can be done to help. Then we ask these developers to come in and pay us a visit at the December meeting and try and see if we maintain an agenda that allows an hour or so to focus on the beginnings of what we can do here. Hopefully hand in hand. All right?
And they're on the call today as
Who's
well.
on?
This is the same, Dennis.
I have to tell you, when they appeared on their application, they were about as forthcoming people as I have ever seen. And they left a very good impression on the members of this board. I would doubt they would want to undermine that. Who is on?
Dennis, Cindy, and their lawyers.
Dennis, are you on?
Same group as previously.
Dennis? I think he's, I don't
I'm
think.
asking him to unmute. Okay.
Yes, I'm on.
There was a lady who was on, who was really a very, very, very bright and able lady.
Andy from before, from Innovators?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw her. Let me ask her to unmute.
Andy, unmute yourself, please.
I believe Andy should be gone. She's taking a call from a different time zone, so it's very late over there right now, so.
And who's talking?
Dennis is.
Dennis, okay. Dennis, I think it is in your interest as the entrepreneur developing, as well as somebody who has done quite a job on other sites and here, to try and uplift or at least maintain the livability of that community without it impacting adversely on what you're doing and perhaps even advancing it. And what I would ask you to do is, if you would give some thought, they will bounce some ideas off you, and then our committee will meet with you, and we're going to try and see what we can do in any way to uplift this community, in any way we can. That is the function of a community planning board. And it was what was done in terms of community planning boards under such greats as John Zuccotti and Amanda Burden. And that's what we're gonna try and see if we can get back. So if we can, if you would, be willing to do so, think about what it is you believe as the developers does not disadvantage you, but aids your community and you. All right?
We certainly will, and we received the letter, and we will read it carefully and speak with our consultants and work with you guys.
Be aware, you did a hell of a job in persuading this board to be very sympathetic to your project. You've done nothing other than good things. Let's keep it that way.
We intend
Yes.
to do that.
I'm Diana. I have a question. You guys are the developers for the possible 8-story building with 64 units?
We've already approved that
We
application.
Yeah.
Is it gonna come with parking lots, or it's just?
I don't know. It was approved months ago. That's what we were referring to, yep. And we're not gonna revisit it.
No.
Dennis, is that, HDC financed in any way? Where are you, Dennis?
Sorry, what was that?
Is your proposed high-rise building in any way financed by New York City Housing Development Corporation?
No.
We don't
it's
intend
not-
for it to be.
It's not a high rise, it's a mid-rise.
Fine, but is it in any way financed by HTC?
No,
No.
Okay, I just want to know, I didn't want to have a conflict. All right?
Hey, Roby from DOB, did you have your hand up?
Oh, good evening, everyone. So that proposed building, again, it's a 7-story building. That's what the drawings are showing. The applicant of record, when they were filling out the application part, they put 8 stories, but the drawing does show 7 stories. The reason that there is no parking is because for the zoning, it would require 5 parking spots, and the zoning also allows waiver of parking if it's below 20 parking spots.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And thank Commissioner Giddens for asking somebody to come from DOB. I appreciate it. All right. Anything else on this issue? Robert?
The issue that was raised about Stevenson Place, about the runoff and the Jerome Park Reservoir retaining wall, those are serious questions. So where is DEP on this? Have they been notified? Are they aware of this proposal? Has anybody been to the site, as far as you know?
Not to my knowledge.
Does the developer know whether anybody from DEP?
Dennis, this isn't you, 85 Stevenson, is it? Is it?
Which one?
No, it's not
The
us.
Stevenson place?
no, it's not.
That's not him.
They're in pursuit of buying that property.
I'm sorry? You own that? Dennis,
No, Dennis does
you
not.
own the Stevenson property?
69 Stevenson, it's not us. We have nothing to do with that property. It's,
Okay. I do know. Okay, so what,
The property, the Dennis Shawn property, is part of the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center. This Innovative is purchasing the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center, which would include that piece of property. The caretaker lives in the Dennis Shawn house. They own that whole L-shaped thing, so it's all one.
all right, so what we need to do for the benefit of the community is, Kale, Farah,
Yes.
would you please notify DEP, I'd like an inspection.
Okay?
Let's find out what the facts are, all right? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, just a quick question. For the house that they're gonna start construction on, the library and the Tudor house next door, have they looked into the tree situation there? Keeping some of the green space and what effect the construction would have on the area?
This is part of the problem. We went through that issue months back. I don't think it is appropriate to resurrect it. I believe they entered into various understandings on which trees would be allowed to survive and which would not. Am I wrong, Dennis? Do your approved tree, do you have an approved tree plan?
Oh, we are not there yet with the design, and actually, as Ryan said, we just got this letter Friday, and we haven't gone through it, so I would say we can push this discussion for next meeting together with Henry Hudson on December 2nd.
Fair enough. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, ma'am.
So, I know that they have not bought the in Cortland Jewish Center. They have not bought 3868 Sedgwick.
Sorry to hear that.
So, don't they need those to build that 8-story building?
I don't know.
Well, okay, my concern is that 3862, there's many trees over 80 years old there. They own that already, but can they knock those trees down without having bought the other buildings for the 8-story?
I don't have in front of me the plans that were approved.
Plans were approved?
There were plans approved for a certain portion of the property. We gave an approval at the time. What was this, December, January? I'll pull it out and take a look at it.
The 3862, can we find out now if it's approved? Because those are the trees, irreplaceable.
What you need to do is, after the adjournment of this meeting, Farrell will look, if she can get her hands on it promptly. We have a file on that application. You are welcome to look at it. It's public record.
Okay, but can the community board help with that? Protecting those trees?
Whatever was done then, the community was here en masse at that time. If this was part of that application, it's done.
We don't think it was. That's the
You
point.
need to look at it. I can't recall. I wish I could.
Application only involves those two properties.
Take a look at it. Yes, Marty.
62 has been.
So we'd like to protect it for the next month. We have no
Marty.
idea what they're gonna do during this month.
I'm not volunteering. You did not suggest who the chair would be.
You are. You're a professional chair.
But the first thing the committee needs to do, first two things, to do some research into what's on file and what's not. 2, do a site visit. And 3, meet with the members of the community so they can identify for us what their specific areas of concern are.
Right. Bob, are you interested in joining this committee?
Do I have a choice?
All right. Very well. Look, we're gonna find out what's involved. I cannot represent to you, I recall, which properties were in it. I remember all of these were discussed during that period. I do not know what they've closed title on. I do not know where they are. The one thing I know was they were in very advanced stages months and months ago of a deal with the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center. And that was a representation made to us by the chairman of the board of Van Cortlandt Jewish Center.
That drawing, that still drawing that they made.
All right? If you have any questions, call Sarah, and she will be able to put the pieces together. You're welcome to look at what we have. All right?
But nothing can be protected. We could chop down the trees tomorrow.
Ma'am, I do not know. I have not got a magic wand, nor do I have the power to enjoin them. I just don't have the power. Or really, do I have a will until I know what's involved here? I cannot do this in a vacuum.
They're telling you that it hasn't been, only those two buildings, 3870 and 3874. That's where they're working right now. And they're starting to clear the land on 3862. That's why I'm concerned. I know, okay, I got it.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what the facts are. It's an always nice thing to know the facts first. All right. Anything else?
Well, this is the property, they're showing it to me now. I don't know why this matters, but this is a picture of it.
That's where the tractor was last week.
Yeah, it's here and they're clearing it already, and this is where all the trees are.
Bunch of trees and hot down.
The owner on the phone.
Who's the owner?
Dennis, same owner, nothing's changed.
Dennis, do you own this property now?
3862.
I think Dennis has left us.
Did he?
Yeah.
I'm sure he left somebody behind to give him a report. Tell him I am most disappointed that he would walk out on us. Not good. All right. There was one other you said under new business.
Yes, I just want to bring to your attention today, and the architect did call me, a project that was approved by this board, 319 College Parkway. You haven't seen it yet, it's really, I'm trying to handle it through the office. But he was allowed to build, like a sparse little pathway up to his, house. But he's been building this giant cement walled thing that a neighbor has complained about. So I did reach out to Department of Buildings and to City Planning. They did confirm it was approved to do the pillars, but not to do that wall. And the architect of the project called himself to say that the owner will be taking that down because he is not supposed to have done that wall.
Good.
Yeah.
Well done, as always.
To keep you updated on it, and I was relieved to hear the architect agreed and is proactively trying to correct the situation.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Were there minutes to approve?
Yes.
Yes, we do have to approve minutes. Mhm.
Go ahead. You have something else?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the October meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. On the motion to approve the minutes. Done.
Is Lee on there? Lee, you're good?
I'm sorry, Farah. Sorry to interrupt. Do you want me to answer any of the questions that you had on the agenda from the department?
On the letter that I sent you?
Yeah.
It seems like there's gonna be a committee working on this, the subcommittee, and we'll send you the follow-up questions after the next meeting. But we appreciate that you're here and that you, were gonna respond to some of these questions.
And again, please thank the Borough Commissioner for having the grace to have somebody come and join us tonight. I always like to see DOB up front.
Of course,
I'm
thank you so much.
All right, on the motion to adjourn.
You have a question?
Old business, please.
Old business.
Oh,
Chuck?
Jody.
Hi,
Yeah.
sorry. You guys went so fast. I just wanted to bring up old business from the last meeting when, I updated everyone that SHPO had contacted Nip Dembowski from Kingsbridge Historical Society requesting interior and exterior photos of the Victorian house on the Hebrew Home property, as well as the Higgins and Quaysbarth report. And I asked for the, on behalf of KHS, I asked for the committee's help in obtaining those. Nick had also emailed the Hebrew Home, but has not gotten a response. I did speak to
Jody,
Farah.
I'm headed for a change.
I did speak to Farah.
I spoke to Dan.
Oh, you spoke to Dan? Thank
Reingold.
you.
Spoke to Dan Reingold within the last couple of days. They're trying to put together an arrangement, part of which would be to go forward with the rest of the plan and leave the Victorian home in place and to deal with that as a separate issue. I think
Yes.
if they can do that, that will deal with your question and any ancillary as to what's going on there. So it'll protect it.
Yes, that takes the stay of execution off the table, because they did put into their October 11th revised application that they were not going to knock it down as they had said, but it's still, as for the Historical Society, it still would be of interest to continue the research and get those materials so that SHPO can determine the historical significance of the site, which Dan did refer to numerous times, saying that not the house, but definitely the site had historical significance. So could we still pursue access and photographs and a copy of the Higgins and
Can you
Quaysbarth
do me a
report?
favor? Send Farah a copy of your letter. I'll talk to Dan about that too, all right?
Okay, I sent her
And
an
Jody,
email on the 23rd.
I did reach out to them with it. I'll just follow up again on the same outreach with the letter. And
Okay,
Chuck was
great.
on that as well, yeah.
And you have a copy of Nick's letter and email from SHPO, right? That was sent?
Yes.
But at
Okay,
some
great.
point, Jody, at some point, a request for information goes a little further than required. Enough said. Okay? You're not there yet, just don't get there.
Nope, I know where the boundaries are. Don't worry, Chuck.
I thank you.
Thank you, and a speedy recovery to your wife.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
On the
Have a
motion
good
to
night.
adjourn, all those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Done.